On the morning of Monday, February 17, 2003, the building manager of the Antwerp Diamond Center walked into the vault corridor and stopped cold. The 2-ton steel vault door, rated the most secure in the world, was standing open. Inside, 109 of 160 safety deposit boxes had been forced. What he was looking at was the largest diamond robbery in recorded history. Investigators estimated the thieves had taken between $100 and $200 million worth of diamonds, gold, and jewels in a single weekend. The vault was protected by seismic sensors, a magnetic field detector, a Doppler radar system, a light beam detector, and a lock so complex it had never been publicly defeated. But to understand how it fell apart, you first need to understand how it was built. The man who designed this operation had spent 30 years perfecting a very specific craft. His name was Leonardo Notarbartolo, and what made him genuinely dangerous wasn't his technical skill, it was his patience. Notarbartolo was part of a loose network of Italian career criminals from Turin, sometimes called the School of Turin, a group known across European law enforcement and for executing highly technical vault and safe robberies with minimal violence and maximum preparation. They weren't opportunists, they were engineers. Their target was the Antwerp Diamond Center, a building in the heart of the world's diamond capital. At the time, nearly 80% of the world's rough diamonds passed through Antwerp each year. The Diamond District, a 12-block radius near Antwerp Central Station, processed more than $26 billion in trade annually. The Diamond Center at 911 Schupstraat housed a basement vault that served hundreds of diamond merchants. Individual traders rented safety deposit boxes there rather than storing inventory at home or at their own premises. The vault was essentially a private bank for the district's most valuable assets. The vault door itself was a product of the Lips Company, a custom-built 2-ton steel door fitted with a combination lock, requiring a 100 million possible combination sequence. The building also employed a security guard on weekends. On paper, this was an impenetrable system, but no system is designed to defend against someone who is already inside. In 2000, 3 years before the heist, Notarbartolo arrived in Antwerp and rented an apartment in the Diamond District. He registered himself as a diamond dealer. He paid his rent on time. He greeted his neighbors. He attended industry events. For 2 full years, his only job was to become a trusted face in the community. This phase of the operation had a specific technical name in the crew's methodology: the approach. It wasn't socializing. It was intelligence gathering with a cover identity. Every conversation, every handshake, every tour of the building was reconnaissance. And it was working. Using his cover identity, Notarbartolo rented a safety deposit box inside the vault. This gave him legitimate, escorted access to the vault room itself. He studied the door mechanism. He clocked the guard's schedule. He noted the placement of every sensor, but he still had a problem he couldn't solve alone. The vault had 5 distinct security layers that had to be defeated simultaneously, not sequentially. A seismic sensor that detected vibrations as through the concrete, a magnetic field detector on the door, a Doppler radar that monitored movement inside the vault, a light beam across the entrance, and the combination lock itself. Defeating one without triggering another required a specialist for each system. Notarbartolo assembled a crew of 5. Investigators would later give each member an alias. There was the Monster, the team's vault specialist, considered the most technically gifted safecracker in the School of Turin. There was Speedy, responsible for physical drilling. There was a third member known only as the King of Keys, and 2 additional operatives whose identities were never fully established. The crew's first technical challenge was the combination lock. Notarbartolo had managed to film the vault guard entering the combination on one of his legitimate visits. Using a concealed camera the size of a pen clip, he captured enough of the dial sequence to hand the footage to the Monster for analysis. But what they didn't realize was that the guard never used the full sequence. The guard used a shortcut. He never re-locked the full vault at the end of Friday. He would leave it on a partial lock setting that still looked closed but could be opened with only a partial combination sequence. This was a critical discovery. It meant the crew didn't need to defeat the full 100 million combination lock, only a fraction of it. The seismic sensor was next. This device was designed to detect drilling vibrations through the concrete floor. The solution the monster developed was elegant in its simplicity. They would work on top of a thick layer of polyurethane foam padding placed directly on the vault floor. The foam absorbed and dispersed vibration before it could reach the sensor's detection threshold. The magnetic door sensor, designed to trigger if the vault door was opened without a proper authorization sequence, was defeated by using a custom-built aluminum plate wedged into the door hinge mechanism. Aluminum is non-magnetic. The sensor read the door as stationary. The crew could move in and out freely. The Doppler radar inside the vault was arguably the most difficult obstacle. This sensor didn't react to physical contact. It detected movement through radio waves bounced off anything in the room. The crew's solution: they brought in a device that emitted a low-level radio signal on the same frequency as the sensor, effectively blinding it by flooding its detection band with background noise. The light beam across the vault entrance was the simplest sensor and the first one they addressed. A small mirror angled at the beam's source redirected the light to continue its circuit, even with the door open. The sensor never saw an interruption. 5 systems, 5 countermeasures, and none of them had been tested under live conditions. Not once. The entry point itself required separate planning. The crew had identified that the building had a parking garage directly below the vault level, accessible from the street. More importantly, the Diamond Center's building security did not include motion-triggered cameras in the garage on weekends. There was one guard. His rounds took 11 minutes. The crew entered the building on Friday evening, February 14th, Valentine's Day weekend. The timing was deliberate. The Diamond District would be at its quietest. Many merchants had closed early. The weekend security rotation meant the same guard would be on duty for 60 consecutive hours. He had a predictable routine, and he had no idea anyone was in the building. But the real genius of the operation wasn't in the sensor countermeasures. It was in how the crew managed time. They had built a 2-day window, Friday night through Sunday night, and they used every hour of it in precise rotation. 2 operatives worked inside the vault, while 3 maintained the perimeter. Shifts rotated every 4 hours. Nobody was ever exhausted. Nobody made rushed decisions. The physical drilling of the deposit boxes took the longest. Each box had its own lock, typically a high-security pin tumbler mechanism. The King of Keys carried a set of hand-ground skeleton keys built from impressions made during Notarbartolo's legitimate vault visits. For boxes where keys didn't work, Speedy used a hydraulic spreader to force the door without explosive vibration. By Sunday morning, they had opened 109 boxes. The contents were sorted on site, a process that took several hours. Loose diamonds were decanted into small cloth pouches. Loose gold was wrapped in cloth. Bearer bonds, cash, and documents were bundled separately. The total haul was loaded into rolling luggage cases, the kind any business traveler would carry through an airport. The total value of what was taken has never been fully confirmed. The diamond industry's practice of under-insuring inventory, a widespread tax strategy, meant most box holders reported losses far below actual value. The official Belgian judicial estimate was 100 million euros. Independent investigators and industry insiders put the true figure closer to 200 million. The crew exited the building Sunday night. They drove out of Belgium in separate vehicles. The haul was split and moved through pre-planned relay points across 3 countries. Under normal circumstances, this crew would have been untraceable. They had left almost nothing behind. Almost. Inside the vault, forensics teams recovered polyurethane foam residue, hair fibers, and partial shoe impressions. But the evidence that would break the case open wasn't found inside the vault at all. It was found in a forest 11 kilometers outside Antwerp, and it was, by any measure, the most mundane object imaginable. A local resident walking through Flordambos Forest found a pile of discarded material in the underbrush: torn up documents, diamond wrapping papers, and the remains of a partially eaten salami sandwich still in its wrapper. The crew had stopped to dispose of operational waste on their way out of Belgium, but they hadn't buried it. They had just left it. Forensic analysis of the sandwich wrapper yielded a partial DNA profile. Belgian investigators ran it against Interpol's database. No match. But among the torn documents was a partial receipt, and on it, a partial address in Antwerp. Investigators traced that address to a rental apartment. The apartment had been leased for 2 years to a man named Antonio Federici. Antonio Federici was a false identity, but the apartment's neighbors recognized the name and the face. They gave police a detailed description. Cross-referencing with Italian law enforcement records, Belgian investigators identified the man as Leonardo Notarbartolo, a known associate of the School of Turin with multiple prior convictions for burglary and safecracking. Notarbartolo was arrested in Italy in April 2003, less than 2 months after the heist. Italian and Belgian authorities coordinated the arrest through Interpol channels. When police searched his home in Turin, they found no diamonds, no cash, and no physical evidence connecting him to the vault. But they had the DNA from the sandwich, and they had the receipt. The prosecution's case rested almost entirely on circumstantial evidence. No stolen diamonds were ever recovered. No direct footage of Notarbartolo inside the vault existed. He denied everything and maintained that he had been hired by an anonymous diamond merchant to scout the building, but had no knowledge of any robbery. This claim has never been verified or disproven. In 2005, Notarbartolo was convicted by a Belgian court and sentenced to 10 years in prison. His co-conspirators, identified only through partial evidence, received shorter sentences. 3 members of the crew were never publicly identified. The diamonds, the gold, and roughly 90% of the cash stolen that weekend have never been found. In 2009, Notarbartolo gave a single interview to Wired magazine from prison. In it, he suggested, for the first time, that the entire operation had been commissioned by an Antwerp diamond merchant who wanted to use the heist to fraudulently claim insurance on stones he no longer possessed. It was a claim that implicated an insider with legitimate access to the building. Belgian investigators reopened inquiries. No charges were ever filed. The insider theory changed the entire operational picture. If true, it meant the heist wasn't just a technically brilliant robbery. It was a commissioned job with a client inside the Diamond District who had provided access intelligence, box identification, and possibly even a guarantee of non-prosecution for specific items. It meant the real architect of the operation was never in that vault at all. The Antwerp Diamond Center responded to the heist by implementing a complete overhaul of its security architecture. The vault was upgraded with continuously monitored biometric entry, 24-hour on-site armed security, redundant sensor systems with independent power supplies, and a policy requiring vault relocking, witnessed by 2 supervisors at the end of every business day. The partial lock shortcut that had enabled the heist was structurally eliminated. Notarbartolo was released from Belgian custody in 2009 after serving 5 years of his 10-year sentence. He returned to Italy. The fate of the remaining crew members is unknown. None of the recovered documentation ever conclusively identified who the monster, Speedy, or the King of Keys actually were. By the time investigators had assembled their strongest case, the trail was cold and the diamonds were long gone. What the Antwerp heist demonstrated, and what made it the subject of study in both law enforcement and security engineering for years afterward, was that no physical security system is stronger than its operational routine. The vault's hardware was essentially undefeatable, but the guard's shortcut, the building's weekend blind spot, and a 2-year social engineering campaign exploited the one layer no manufacturer can fortify: human behavior. The diamonds from the Antwerp diamond heist have never been recovered. More than 20 years later, somewhere between $100 and $200 million worth of stones, gold, and currency remains missing. The case is technically still open, and if Notarbartolo's insider theory is correct, the person who truly commissioned and profited from the most sophisticated vault robbery in history was never charged with a single crime. If you want to understand how systems fail, not just criminals succeed, Shadow Ops breaks down the mechanics of history's most sophisticated operations every week. Subscribe and turn on notifications. The next one is already in progress.